Russian citizenship is the only one I have. And it's the problem now.
The war began.
And it's a war.
Russia's invasion.
Invading. War in Ukraine.
Ukraine.
The violence and destruction.
Completely destroyed.
The war. The war.
It is the most toxic passport on the planet, and this is the best passport ever these days. The entire world, almost, except these 4 countries, doesn't support this war. And history has never seen so many sanctions put on one single country. Russia broke all the records. But the thing is, West doesn't really understand how things in Russia work. Most of the sanctions aims to destroy Russian economy and personally Putin with his gang. But in general, all the sanctions are punishing only the 20% of Russians. The Russians that actually never supported Putin, and the Russians that could and are willing to change something in Russia. So, the most affected people here are educated Russian nationals who support Ukraine, who protest, and doing that risk with their freedom. This is the population that flies to Europe for vacation, that watches Netflix and listens to Spotify, or listened to and watched Netflix, all in the past now. And at the same time, Putin's core supporters within the Russian population are not touched anyhow seriously. They never used Apple Pay, Visa or MasterCard to pay for goods. It was only the local solutions. They never traveled abroad, and they live like this. And they are extremely proud of their country and its history. And West doesn't understand this. I can say the idea was to make all Russians go on the streets, strike, make another Russian revolution and change the regime. If so, we have a problem. The country is on the verge of economic collapse, and what is happening inside Russia is dangerously reminding the beginning of fascist regime. Russia even has its own swastika? What is that? And surprisingly, propaganda works so well that the majority of Russians have no idea what is going on in Ukraine. They truly believe that Nazis occupied Ukrainian government and Ukrainian cities. They hate young people who go on the streets and protest against war. This is insane. The things are so bad in Russia that all sane people are fleeing Russia. They want to immigrate. Immigration is actually the most popular search term nowadays. Look at that! But the list of destinations is so tiny. It's super short. Russians that don't actually agree with Putin became refugees. Refugees that no one is waiting for. I am one of the luckiest. I immigrated a month before all this started. I was lucky to get a job here in Austria, and even doing this, I collected all the troubles for holding Russian residence. I had problems getting my residence permit, work permit. I couldn't open bank account. I couldn't even use my bank cards. All of them were blocked here just because I'm from Russia. I had to cash out all my savings within one day and lose on commissions. My investments just vanished. Now I'm that one guy that uses cash only. And you know what? The funny thing that according to fresh Russian law, my new residence permit, the Austrian one, makes me a national traitor back in Russia. And nowadays they create so many cruel laws that even making this very video, I'm risking to be jailed for treason. But anyways, here in Austria, when people ask me from where I am coming from, I feel extreme shame replying that I came from Russia. Even though ethnically I'm from Georgia, but I actually was living in Russia for almost 30 years, that's where I'm from. And replying that I'm from Russia, I feel extreme shame. I've never met any bullying or any pressure from Europeans. Austrians seem to understand and they always respond with good timing. Indeed, I'm happy that the majority of Europeans understand that it is Putin's war and not all Russians are supporting this war. But I'm afraid it's inevitable that the word Russian will be giving the same emotions when talking about terrorists, for example. I mean, not all Syrians are terrorists, right? But I believe people from that country have bad times finding the jobs. Most people in Russia don't understand now what is going on. Russia is destroyed. It has no future as it is. And you know, it all doesn't feel good at all, but it's all so minor in comparison to this. I'm happy to see how the world is supporting Ukraine. And you know, I believe that soon there will be days when Ukraine will stop asking NATO for help, and instead NATO will be asking Ukraine to share knowledge on how to fight Russian aggression. This is the kind of threat NATO was actually created for. I believe Ukraine has a very bright future ahead, and people with this thing are in trouble.